Some stories don't have an ending, they just stop. A person is there one moment, living, breathing, moving through the world, and the next, they're gone. Not just gone from sight, but gone from the narrative of life, leaving behind a void of unanswered questions and a silence that echoes louder than any explanation. Every year, countless people are reported missing. While many are thankfully found, some disappearances defy all explanation, leaving behind a cold trail and questions that haunt us for decades. From a world-famous aviator who vanished over the Pacific to 3 women who disappeared from inside their own home, these are the stories that compel us to keep asking, what happened? Our first case begins on a desolate, snow-lined road in rural New Hampshire. It's the evening of February 9th, 2004, and a 21-year-old nursing student named Maura Murray has just crashed her car. The moments leading up to this single-car accident are a puzzle. Earlier that day, Maura, a bright student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, sent an email to her professors claiming she'd be gone for a week due to a death in the family. Her family later confirmed there had been no death. She packed a bag, withdrew $280 from an ATM and bought about $40 worth of alcohol. Then she drove north, her destination unknown, though she had searched online for directions to Burlington, Vermont. Around 7:30 p.m, on a sharp corner of Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire, she lost control of her car and spun into a snowbank. A local school bus driver, Butch Atwood, lived nearby and stopped to offer help. He asked Maura if she needed him to call the police. She reportedly pleaded with him not to, saying she'd already called for roadside assistance, a call for which there's no record. Concerned, Atwood drove home and called the police anyway. A sheriff's deputy arrived at the scene, estimated to be about 10 to 15 minutes later, and found the car, but Maura Murray was gone. The scene was perplexing. Some of her belongings were in the car, but her debit cards and cell phone were missing, never to be used again. Some accounts state the car was locked. Most bizarrely, a rag was found stuffed into the tailpipe. Was this something she had done, or was it placed there by someone else? An extensive search began, but the unforgiving terrain yielded little. While some accounts say no footprints were found, others report that tracking dogs may have followed a scent for a short distance before losing it on the road. Maura had vanished in the brief window between Atwood leaving and law enforcement arriving. Over the years, theories have multiplied. Did she wander into the woods, disoriented, and succumb to the elements? Was she picked up by a passing motorist, or did she stage the accident to disappear and start a new life? This last theory is fueled by the strange preparations she made before leaving. Her family has never given up hope, and investigators say they still receive tips weekly. New technologies like LiDAR have even been used to search for ground disturbances, but more than 2 decades later, the central question remains: did Maura Murray choose to disappear, or was she the victim of a crime on that lonely road? Our next case is one of the most baffling in modern American history because it involves not 1, but 3 women vanishing from a house without a trace. This is the story of the Springfield Three. The night of June 6, 1992 should have been a celebration for 19-year-old Susie Streeter and 18-year-old Stacy McCall. They had just graduated from high school in Springfield, Missouri, and spent the evening party hopping. At around 2 a.m. on June 7th, they headed back to Susie's house, which she shared with her 47-year-old mother, Cheryl Levitt. It was the last time anyone ever saw them. The next day, when the girls failed to meet up with friends, a friend went to the Levitt home on East Delmar Street. What she found was a scene of eerie normalcy. The front door was unlocked. The 3 women's cars were all parked outside. Inside, their purses, keys, and cigarettes were left behind. Stacy's medication was also there. Cheryl's bed looked like it had been slept in, and the TV was still on. The only things that seemed out of place were a broken glass globe on the front porch light, with the shards swept to the side, and a strange message on the answering machine. In a heartbreaking twist, Stacy's mother, Janice, listened to the message in a panic but accidentally erased it. The exact contents have been debated for years, with some describing it as lewd or strange, but it has never been recovered. The timeline suggests the women disappeared sometime between 2:15 a.m, when the girls were last seen, and the next morning. The investigation was immediately stalled by a complete lack of physical evidence. It was as if they hadn't been taken during a violent struggle, but had simply evaporated. Over the decades, thousands of tips have been investigated. A convicted kidnapper, Robert Craig Cox, claimed he knew the women were murdered and would never be found, but investigators have not found his claims credible. In 1997, 5 years after they went missing, Cheryl Levitt, Susie Streeter and Stacey McCall were declared legally dead, but their case remains open. The question isn't just what happened, but how. How do 3 women disappear from a home, leaving everything behind, without anyone hearing a thing? The house on Delmar Street offered no answers, only a chilling portrait of 3 lives interrupted. These stories are marked by an unnerving silence, a void where answers should be. If you believe these stories need to be told, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us keep these cases in the public eye. Some people seem larger than life, figures of immense power and influence, but our next case proves that even the most powerful person can be erased. This is the story of James Riddle Hoffa. In the mid-20th century, few names carried as much weight as Jimmy Hoffa. As the formidable president of the Teamsters Union, he was one of the most powerful and controversial labour leaders in American history, with connections that extended from Washington DC to the world of organised crime, and it's those very connections that are believed to have sealed his fate. On July 30th, 1975, Hoffa drove to the Matchus Red Fox restaurant in a suburb of Detroit. He was supposedly there to meet with 2 powerful mob figures, Anthony Tony Jack Giacalone and Anthony Tony Pro Provenzano, to settle a feud and discuss his plans to reclaim the Teamsters presidency. He arrived at the restaurant, but the other men didn't show. Growing impatient, Hoffa called his wife from a payphone, complaining that he'd been stood up. He was last seen in the restaurant's parking lot. Then he was gone. The investigation that followed was one of the most intensive in FBI history. It was clear to most that this was likely a professional hit, orchestrated by the very forces Hoffa had once worked with. The dominant theory is that the mob, fearing his return to power, decided he was a liability that needed to be removed. The challenge wasn't figuring out why he disappeared, but how and where his body ended up. The mafia's code of silence proved to be a powerful obstacle. For decades, investigators have chased countless leads, excavated properties, and listened to numerous deathbed confessions. One of the most famous theories came from Frank the Irishman Sheeran, a mob hitman who claimed he personally killed Hoffa in a Detroit house. The story gained huge traction, especially after being depicted in the movie The Irishman. But when investigators finally tested bloodstains from the house Sheeran identified, DNA analysis confirmed the blood wasn't Jimmy Hoffa's, casting serious doubt on his story. Other theories have placed Hoffa's final resting place everywhere from under Giant Stadium to the bottom of the Great Lakes. Despite all the claims and theories, not one has ever led to the discovery of his remains. Hoffa was declared legally dead in 1982. His disappearance is a stark reminder of the reach of organised crime and its ability to carry out the perfect murder, one where the body is never found. Our next case takes us from the gritty underworld of the mob to the boundless blue expanse of the Pacific Ocean. It's a mystery that has captivated the world for nearly a century, transforming a pioneering aviator into a timeless legend. This is the story of Amelia Earhart. In 1937, Amelia Earhart was a global icon. A daring and charismatic pilot, she decided to undertake her most ambitious challenge yet, a circumnavigational flight around the globe, roughly at the equator, a longer and more perilous journey than other routes attempted at the time. On July 2nd, 1937, Earhart and her navigator, Fred Noonan, took off from Lae, New Guinea for one of the most difficult legs of their journey. Their destination was Howland Island, a minuscule speck of land in the vast Pacific Ocean. Finding it would require masterful navigation. As they neared the island, the US Coast Guard cutter Itasca began picking up strained radio transmissions. Earhart's voice was calm but signalled trouble. She reported cloudy weather, making celestial navigation nearly impossible. In one of her final transmissions, she stated, "We are on the line 157337. We are running on line north and south." Then, only silence. The US government launched the largest sea and air search in history at the time, but they found nothing. The official theory is that the plane simply ran out of fuel and crashed into the Pacific. However, a compelling alternative theory suggests they may have survived the flight. This is the Nikumaroro hypothesis. The theory posits that, unable to find Howland, they flew south and spotted the uninhabited atoll of Nikumaroro about 400 miles away. Proponents believe they landed on a reef and survived for a time as castaways. Over the years, expeditions have uncovered tantalizing items, including fragments of aluminum, a 1930s era shoe, and a partial skeleton found in 1940. A 2018 re-examination of the bone measurements controversially suggested they were more consistent with Earhart's stature than 99% of individuals in a reference sample, but this finding is heavily disputed by other experts, and the bones themselves are now lost. The search continues. In early 2024, a private company, Deep Sea Vision, released sonar images of an object on the ocean floor that they claim resembles Earhart's plane. As of mid-2026, a follow-up expedition to physically verify the object has not yet taken place, leaving the find unconfirmed. Meanwhile, another expedition to investigate a different anomaly in the Nikumaroro Lagoon, which was planned for late 2025, has been delayed until later in 2026. Amelia Earhart's disappearance remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in aviation, a story that has left the world staring at the empty sky. Our final case is perhaps the most heart-wrenching and widely known child disappearance in modern history. This is the story of Madeleine McCann. On the evening of May 3rd, 2007, 3-year-old Madeleine was on vacation with her parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, in Praia de Luz, Portugal. The McCanns were dining with friends at a nearby tapas restaurant while their children slept in their ground floor apartment. The group of adults took turns checking on the children throughout the evening. At around 10 p.m, Kate McCann went to check and found the children's bedroom window open and Madeleine's bed empty. After a frantic search, the horrifying reality set in. Madeleine was gone. What followed was chaos. A massive search was launched, but the case quickly became a global media sensation. The initial Portuguese police investigation was heavily criticised for how it handled the crime scene. In a shocking turn, they even named Madeleine's own parents as official suspects, or arguidos, a status that was lifted in 2008 due to a lack of evidence. For years, the case went cold. Then, in 2020, German prosecutors announced a major development. They had identified a new prime suspect, a German man named Christian Bruckner, a convicted sex offender who was living in the Algarve region at the time of Madeleine's disappearance. Phone records placed him near the McCann's apartment on the night she vanished. German authorities have stated their belief that Madeleine is deceased and that Bruckner is responsible, though they have not yet brought a murder charge against him. Bruckner has denied any involvement and, as of mid-2026, has not been charged in relation to this case. In early June of 2026, reports emerged that British detectives had received new files from German authorities related to Bruckner, fueling a renewed push in the investigation. However, the path to a potential trial is complex and expected to be lengthy. Despite a prime suspect, the case remains agonisingly unresolved. Madeleine's body has never been found. There has been no confession. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann is a global symbol of a parent's worst fear and a haunting reminder that sometimes, even with the world watching, a little girl can simply vanish into the night. From a lonely road in New Hampshire to a family resort in Portugal, these 5 cases are separated by time, distance and circumstance, yet they are all united by the same chilling void of answers. They represent the fine line between the known and the unknown. What do you think is the most haunting aspect of a person simply vanishing without a trace? Is it the lack of closure for the families left behind, or the chilling realisation that it could happen to anyone? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you find these unsolved mysteries as compelling as we do, be sure to subscribe for more explorations into the unknown. Thank you for watching.